Remember, they're changing my voice. This is part 2. Okay, so this guy's argument is you can fight 10 people and win now, but eventually you will get old. Eventually you can't fight anymore. It's better to cultivate yourself and help people use this art to improve their lives. Now, the refinement of that, right, is universal moral precision and the divine order is the refinement of their arguments and a superior argument to their arguments. Think about it carefully and write down and carefully review your thoughts. So what my actions say in that quote is not necessarily, how I would say it. I just made it really quickly. What have it? Okay. Over here we see there are 1.7 million black men under some form of correctional control today. I imagine that includes probation and parole. About twice the 870,000 black men who were enslaved in 1850. Slavery wasn't abolished, just redesigned. And it had this picture of these guys, right? Now compare these guys and their kind of burpee workouts and their poor diet and kind of junk food and commissary, okay, and exercise to all these guys trying to pretend they're superior, right? Here you see otter mode, right? Some kind of liberal mode. Here, I mean, I made it small here, but this is a bodybuilder according to them. This is a hero. Notice the hero is more defined than the otter mode or the athlete, okay? And that's key. Okay, anyway, so I was interrupted, but I was saying how the hero is more defined, right? These guys, to some degree, a lot of their genetics, because they're African Americans and how they live their life, doesn't allow them a certain kind of form, right? It's a bit complicated why that is, right? There's a difference between African martial artists and African Americans, basically, okay? So you'll be hard pressed to find any African American who is a kind of tall, kind of martial arts striking body. And there's a difference between that and a boxing body. It's kind of like when we look at this guy's punch, right? We look at these guys. None of these guys have an African martial art hero body. Neither do these guys. But what's sad is they're trying to be more like Horus, right? Than these African Americans. And the Horus is the Royal African Falcon martial art pharaoh. It's a deity of the pharaohs, right? And we'll see this over here. Watch. The commonly used name Hora-Ha is a rendering of the pharaoh's Horus name, an element of the royal titulary associated with the god Horus, and it's more fully given as Horus Aha, right? Hora-Ha, Horus Aha, meaning Horus the fighter, right? We see over here Har is part of the Horus name, and this has to do with the harp. Okay, the type of sword is a sickle, a sword with a sickle protrusion along one edge near the tip of the blade. The harp is mentioned in Greek and Roman sources because remember they stole the idea of Horus, for the Greek and Roman mythology. Okay, and almost always in mythological context. The Greek name harp is borrowed from the Semitic word, whatever that is, meaning a sword. Okay, now it's also borrowed from, the kind of root word har for horse. Now har, P-Y, the P, the penis. It says why? Why horse P? Now how do females act when they don't want to admit that I'm the ideal man? They act like this or something. Right? They act like this chick. They act like a mocker. They're like, oh, I'm doing martial arts, but I don't give you your rightful place. They act like this. They act like this, right? They act like they lost their mind. Some kind of magician, witchcraft fool. Instead of, remember, Horus is the archetype of Pharaoh. It's Horus the fighter. It's not Horus the magician, Horus the witch. Okay, it's Horus the fighter. And what they're getting at, right, when you think about the Narmer palette, is Horus the top martial artist, and that's single combat with weapons and sparring, so it's transferable skills for actual combat. Okay, and we see Horus the falcon is the fastest animal, and it flies at speeds of 240. They've been clocked at 242 miles per hour. Okay, so it's fighting spirit. In spirit, Horus is a god of Royal African Falcon martial arts with the spirit of generational righteousness and generational justice from God as a war god. I am his last true form ever. Pharaoh is the living Horus, the Christos. So what were they getting at, right? The Alpha and the Omega. So in Egyptian mythology, before the Torah was written, okay, before Abraham I am, that means before Moses, who's said to write the Old Testament, was, okay, Horus the Pharaoh. And that's why in Genesis 41:45, we see that it says that Joseph married Asenath, the daughter of Potiphera, the high priest of Ra. Okay. Now here we see another angel came out from the temple in heaven. He too had a sharp sickle. Still another angel who had charge of the fire came from the altar and called in a loud voice to him who had the sharp sickle. Take your sharp sickle and gather the clusters of grapes from the earth's vine, because its grapes are ripe. The angel swung his sickle on the earth, gathering its grapes, and threw them into the great winepress of God. So the last word is wrath. I had to, I didn't have enough room here to kind of, so you see right here. Okay, I'll just pull it down for you quick. It's for wrath. Okay, here is Perseus with the head of Medusa, and he's armed with a harp sword. So the Romans and the Semites, it's all connected here. They got it from the Semitic word. They all knew about Horus, and they knew he was an African deity. That's why they concealed. They knew it wasn't someone like them, so they made it a secret because they didn't want to give the black man his credit, and they started doing their scientific, racist, homosexual thing. So it's basically a bunch of like Greco-Roman and Jewish homosexuals and LGBT people who didn't want to give the black man his credit. That's why, it seems like a sissy thing to do black faces. There's why fraternities, why aren't fraternities very masculine, but their people are set up to make lots of money in life because their culture is LGBT kind of culture. That's why their idea of a hero is some kind of liberal sissy, and they have racist conservatives who treat people unfairly. Okay, and of course we see, character is what martial arts is really about. And again, I tell you, nobody but me has gone far enough with moral precision, moral wisdom, moral courage, moral intelligence, moral clarity, moral will, moral discipline, a dangerous unselfishness and focused moral intensity to obviously surpass everyone that has ever lived. It is not an inflated ego that causes me to say this, but seeking justice for God, which transcends all ego arguments. Now, if we have time, okay, we'll get into this next poster I've been working on, okay, where you see the evolution of blind acceptance, right? They're devolving, right? Why aren't women? We'll get into why women should submit again. I've gone on this many times. Still no viable counter-argument. Women avoid it like the plague and keep dating scum. Okay, why the evolution of blind acceptance, being a nerd? You see how he's is evolving. See how this guy's carrying a stick, right? He's evolving to be a hunter to have sense. So why don't nerds have sense? Why is he called a Wing Chun dummy, right? Why Revenge of the Nerds and the frat? And why are these nerds depicted like this, right? These nerdy cartoon characters. Okay, again, Haro Aries. Aries said to be the legendary cultural head of the Umu-Eri groups of the Igbo people, right? Haro Aries, right? And again, remember, Har, I told you earlier, is another word for horse. We see over here, according to the white man's own kind of encyclopedia, his Wikipedia, what have you. Horus or her, Heru, Hor, Har, because they want the female to be the one shaped like the ideal martial artist, okay? And they want a whore, right? So it's called whore and her you. She's a her you, right? Hera, her A, her alpha, and she's the consort of Zeus, okay? And again, a demon is a forceful, fierce, or skilled performer. Here you see some person, this is years ago, she said, dude, you have no sense. You think skilled performers are demons. The fuck? Get off the internet, take some meds, and just stop talking like you know shit, okay? And it's making this face like they're laughing and mocking me, right? And you see here, I say not to be off topic, but I am responding to this question that the topic led to. What is the definition number 2? Okay, so I said, look, I already answered that. I'm right. It's right there in the definition, number 2. Or one, and I was saying I'm right. It's right here. It says a forceful, fierce, or skilled performer. Notice, because this person didn't understand what I've been studying for years and years and years as a brain surgeon's son, they specifically said, get off the internet, take some meds, and just stop talking like you know shit. When I know she doesn't, because I'm superior. To transcend is to be superior. I'm superior to all other people. Okay, remember when David faced Goliath, Goliath said, if you overcome me, we'll serve you. And if we overcome you, you serve us, right? And Jesus said, take heart, I have overcome the world, to his disciples. So what is righteousness? The quality of being morally right or justifiable. Okay, so my arguments are justifiable. And again, I show you an overwhelming, look at all these poster boards right here. Okay, look at all these poster boards, I use, I have just tons and tons. I have like 50 of these poster boards full of evidence. I have thousands of videos over the years. This is just this year alone, I think, when I started making these posters. Okay, and there's just so much evidence that I'm right. Okay, and that they should obey me, right? Not the people who are defined by their own dictionary.com as foolish and worthless, right? What are the difference between nerds, geeks, and dorks, right? They're all foolish and worthless, according to their own dictionary. Foolish, inept, or unattractive. So how can a foolish and worthless people with money who's unattractive get attractive female? Because they're gold diggers, okay? Gold diggers, gold diggers, gold diggers. Not necessarily them. I'm just going to use them as a model because I don't know these people, to be fair, or whatever you want to call it. I have my suspicions. We'll leave it there. And I talk about how, see how her breasts are perky, her breasts aren't perky, and she looks whiter. Now, it's not necessarily one-to-one, but there's a racial social engineering campaign going on to make it so that certain types of people from certain bloodlines, especially if they look white, okay, have the perky breasts and the nice butt, and other people they made to seem more trashy. And this is why, not necessarily her, but notice her butt is less perky than her butt. This is why they're doing this. Notice they're from Bulgaria, some white-like country, okay, and there you go, right? And they might argue, we're not white, we're Bulgarian, but you get what I'm saying. Just like you see our Italians, right? They're not white, they're Italian, so, people have various opinions. You get what I'm saying? Now here we see the dumb blonde, right? I think I might have went over the time, so let me just wrap it up soon. See how they look like the dumb blondes? This is actually 10 signs of an intelligent woman, okay? And you see how, look at her face, right? How come she looks so similar to the dumb blonde? You say, well, she's blonde. It's more than that. She was brunette, same thing. She looks like this female who's labeled a dumb blonde. I'm not saying she's smart or dumb. Look at Kelly Bundy, right? And she's playing dumb, but she's dumb enough to be a Hollywood actress, so one can make a strong case that she's actually dumb. Now we look over here and we see, my top martial arts challenge, which puts me at the peak of evolution. It's one thing to do fancy moves. It's another thing to do what martial arts is actually made for. To be able to outmaneuver everyone and do mind, body, soul, and spirit. And again, I tell you, it says martial arts is about building character. Okay, thank you.